I am a survivor of human trafficking, and I am a survivor of satanic ritual abuse.
All right, everyone comfortable?
Yeah, babe.
All right.
You Nubian kings making me hot.
All right. First of all, thank you for letting us be here.
Thank you for
In your home.
letting
We've
me
travelled.
come on.
London boys, we've come. I want to take this moment today with you to really get the story out that we've only understood a little bit of online.
Yeah.
Shocked us to the core, and one of the main reasons was because how vibrant and incredible and light you are. And so to be able to share that story so nobly.
Yeah, you'd never assume what obviously you're going to explain. You would have went through from what you present. You're so full of life, full of energy.
They can't break you unless you let them, guys.
Yeah. You have to turn poison to medicine.
Yeah, babe, and pain to purpose, you know. And I think that's the big thing that I want to address in this as well, is that, like, I always say, like, life is shit and life is going to throw bricks in your face, but it's about taking them bricks and making a solid house, because it's a foundation, and we all have to build that safe house for ourselves. No one gets out alive, do they, without going through something? And I think sometimes when you can go through something so deep, you can see why the world has carried on these cycles of abuse, because it's just hurting people.
Yeah.
But I'm here to stop that, and our generation is here to stop that, and that's what we're going to do as a collective. But I think it's very important, the things that we talk about today, and we stop shoving shit under the carpet, because I'm sick of it, right, to be fair.
Yeah. So let's jump straight into it.
Okay.
So we don't know each other that well at all.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, I know Chris a bit more than you, babe,
Yeah.
to be honest, but yeah.
So this is very authentic, this conversation is going to be very real. And so I would love to know, just first of all, about your childhood and growing up and where you're from.
Yeah, because how it started, like, well, this is the thing, and I think through my timeline you'll see, like, how a lot of people will be able to relate to this, but also how easy this is to happen, because I was just a normal girl from Manchester, proud northerner, and I was brought up in a really loving home. Like, my mum and dad, they loved me and my sibling, like, so much. They were great parents. Unfortunately, the only thing is that they didn't love each other, and they were amazing to us, but to each other they were very toxic. I grew up in a domestic household. We never seen anything, but I guess as a child you're quite intuitive to these things, and you know, different things can happen to different people. Two twins can go for the same thing and act differently. And I think when my mum and dad split up when I was about 10, 11, I thought my whole world was breaking down. You had this social construct, you know what I mean? You needed mum, a dad, a picketed fence, you need a dog, you know what I mean? Everything's meant to be the Brady Bunch, and it's bullshit. It's not like that. And I guess my little world started to fall apart, and I started to fall apart with it. As a young girl, I was confusing love with attention. So I was going out with older people. I was drinking on the streets. I started smoking weed. That was kind of how I started to cope with, like, I guess, like, just the dealing with the whole mum and dad issue, and just growing up in a broken home. And this is why I need to touch on this so much, because this is where the vulnerability starts. Within society, we have a lot of what we like to call forgotten children, and they're children that are brought up in care, broken homes, you know, in situations where the social services have to get involved. And unfortunately, perpetrators are around. And then when I started to get out of school, 16, I left school. I then got introduced to a lady. And I guess that's where the Wicked Witch of the West path started.
So school was kind of ordinary, normal for you?
Yeah, I guess it was normal in the sense of, like, how normal can be. Like, we was a bit naughty kids in school, I'm not going to lie. I was wagging it, like, you know. I guess I'd got given this hidden responsibility of looking after my sister at a bit of a younger age. So I took advantage of that, and I think because I was feeling so rebellious, like, I guess I was a bit naughty, like, you know, I would wag school, I would go out, It's mad. The kids, the people go to school might kill me now, but who cares? We used to go out at dinner and drink and then go back to school, do you know what I mean? So we'd be going into school like drunk teenagers. The things you do you know what I mean? And that's why I think now more than ever we need to protect our younger generations, because if I was doing that at my age and in our generation where all of this pressure of technology and social media is, think what they're doing now.
How easy is it for them now?
And this is where exploitation comes in, and this is why things like criminal exploitation, county lines, and sexual exploitation are rife now within young people, because they get given this, moth to a fake flame, artificial world, you know, get these trainers, you're amazing, get this attention, you're amazing, you know. And no disrespect to anyone who is in that, you know, world, but, you know, when you do see the likes being influenced by people like Kim Kardashian and not talking about how to handle people's mental health, we're going to have a destructive society. And that was the generation before this destructive society. So as much as it wasn't non-conventional, I guess it was still good. Like, you know, I was just a confused kid. There was no abuse at home. Like, I had, like I say, the most amazing parents. Like, they were really good to me. And I guess I was just a bit of a naughty kid. This is why we should stop dismissing naughty kids, because all they want is attention. And we should stop saying that they're naughty and putting them out of the room and dismissing them. We can go on to that later, but that's a big thing that I pride myself in doing now. But yeah, the home life, it was good. It was broken, but it was good. I had two happy parents apart, which was, in my head, I didn't see it that way. But now looking back, it was the best way it could have been, you know, and they did the best for me that they possibly could.
Who did you spend more time with, like, growing up?
I'll be honest, we would probably spent a bit more time with our dad, but because of the situation, my dad because he had to, obviously he was the one that kind of had a bit more time with us, so, and he was like kind of by himself, whereas my mum got a partner and they were supportive, so my dad had to, you know, do all the bills. He was getting we were getting the dinner tickets and stuff, which is why Boris is a wanker for taking away free school meals, because if it wasn't for things like that, my dad would have struggled even more. So yeah, I guess it was more of an equal, but I guess we was more at my dad's house. It's just that my dad was trying to get a degree, he was trying to better himself, and sometimes I had to look after my sister, you know. So this is where I guess you are prime potential for perpetrators. And when I left school, that's exactly what happened. I got introduced to this lady, and she was considerably older than it was me and the two girls that got introduced to her. And it was mad. This girl, I talked to the girls now, and I was like, you know, do you remember when she was giving us lap dances? Like, half-naked woman, like, in a 16-year-old's face. One of the girls was 15 because she was the youngest in the year. And, you know, you kind of think when you look back and you're like, did that the fuck, like, do you know what I mean? Like, when you're kind of like going through your timeline and your trauma, you're like, did that fucking happen that way?
Was it even in my reality?
Yeah, like, because at the time you never realise about this stuff.
So you said you was three, there's three of you.
There was three of the girls, there was three of us. Yeah, so we just left school, and this girl was highly influential, you know, she had her own house, like, at the time she was living somewhere, she had her own car, do you know what I mean? She was smoking weed.
So we're talking about an adult?
Yeah, babe, she was a full-grown adult. She was at least 10 years older than us.
Okay.
Like,
so we're talking about 26?
Yeah, about 25, 26.
And she was giving you lap dances with no one around, just herself?
So basically, she disclosed herself as a stripper. She was always very honest about that, and then she just started being very provocative, do you know what I mean, talking about what she was doing, and then showing us, and, you know, buying weed, you know. And this is what happened. Like, for me, I was, again, like a moth to a fake flame, and I was like, oh my God, you know, I was obviously looking for a guardian as well, because the home lifestyle, and I was the oldest, so enter this lady. And, you know, I look back now and I realise I was being groomed, but at the time I had no frigging clue. And, you know, she introduced me to this world, like champagne, cocaine, and robbers. Like, I was 17, you know what I mean? I was like, what the fuck is this about? I remember going to a club with her. Someone got shot in the club. The guy ended up in the car, in the back with us. We had to take him to hospital. She knew certain types of people, babe, do you know what I'm saying? And I'm obviously a young girl.
Wow.
It's influential, you need to understand, and obviously it doesn't help. We know how destructive the music industry can be with this kind of things, pimps and hoes. Oh yeah, get them up, do you know what I mean?
Glamorized.
Yeah, babe, it's massively glamorized, and this is what, again, we're struggling with today. It's an uphill battle, man. So this girl, then at the ages of 17 disclosed a bit more of herself about me. Now, what people need to understand with the grooming process is, again, it's very much like I always relate this to domestic violence, because they befriend you first, you know, they make you think that they're the best thing since sliced bread. Then there's the isolation, because the isolation is very important so that they can be the ones that you depend on. They can be the ones that you kind of go to. You know, we were kind of brought up, like my dad, bless him, he was doing the best, but we had a screwdriver as a handle, do you know what I mean? Like we didn't have carpet, like it was a bit of first world poverty, do you know what I'm saying? And my dad was doing the best he could, bless him. And she made it very apparent when she come to stay at mine that my house was dirty, you know what I mean? She didn't want to be there. So then boom, isolation, always at her house. And my mum and dad, don't get it twisted, they did not want me around this lady, but what are you going to tell a 16, 17-year-old girl? Do you know what I mean? I was in college, I was at home bargaining, £6 an hour.
So your parents had met her?
Oh yeah, they knew about her, and they did not like her one bit. Like, they did not want me around her, but again, what do you say to a teenager? Like, it just doesn't, you can't do it. Even the younger kids now, when I'm going to schools of the work I do now, you know, you're lucky enough to get their attention for 6 seconds. Luckily, I know how to work with young people, but you can understand the destruction that's going on now. And yeah, you couldn't tell me shit, babe. And basically, yeah, I was in college and I was doing psychology, sociology, philosophy. And yeah, where by the age of 17, she disclosed herself as a prostitute. And she said she had knew then at that point that I was not gonna, she was like, you won't judge me, will you? Obviously, I'm gonna fucking judge her. I looked up to this girl. I thought she was fucking God. I'll be honest with you. I just wanted to be more like her. Like, it's sad. And yeah, I always think, like, you know, at 17, like, I kind of took my responsibility and said, you know, I know that I was influenced, but at the same time, like, do we know what we was doing at that age? Like, do we know what we was doing at 17 and 16? Like,
and it's so easy to be manipulated.
Oh, yeah. It seems manipulated now as a 32-year-old woman, mate. If I didn't know the shit I knew now, like, if you wouldn't have had this life experience, you can see how vulnerable and naive anyone can be. And these perpetrators know this, babe. They know this. So at the age of 17, I thought it was normal then to go and get paid to have sex with money, unprotected, with men up and down the country. Like, you know, I remember, you know, her showing me how to go and get into cars, you know, with guys and go and take this money from them. Do you know what I mean? Like, these things. And just thinking about the danger that I put myself in, like, and I didn't.
So it was rapid, though. It was very rapid. It went from her kind of teasing you girls to, and was it all three of you, or did it become just you in the end?
No, it was just me, because the other girls dispersed. They kind of went their own way, but I really got caught up in it all. Like, and it's sad because, you know, when I have told my story before, people are like, "Oh, it looks like you're blaming her," and that's why I always say, like, how can you say that at 16? Like, who the fuck knew what they were doing? You know, it's took me a long time, years of therapy, to understand about this whole process and the amount of training I've had to have. And
you were searching for, like, a role model. Exactly,
babe. Like, and a lot of these young people are today. That's the way society is. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone wants to be accepted. Everyone wants to be loved and be part of it. It's a tribal thing. It's what we are known to want, you know? But you can end up in the wrong tribe. So yeah, the thing of the matter is because I was 17, it's not actually prostitution. I was coerced into being exploited. And I didn't know that at the time. And not only that, like, I'm here to expose the whole lot of this, because that, like, I took a path into the adult industry. She introduced me to something called Babe Station, which is a show that some guys might know. It's a late night show. Some guys ring up thinking that we really want to talk to them on the phone, and they pay £300 a minute. But I was a minor on that show. I have been not asked.
17 then?
Yeah, so literally, so this girl, she'd introduced me to this show, and she was like, I'll just come down work. So, you know, I remember I was in college. I remember because all the freaking people at college was like, oh my God, it's Sam Browne. Like, do you know what I mean? And I thought, bloody hell, you're a bit sad watching the stations, aren't you? I didn't think so many people would have known. They recognised you from... Well, wow. One of the guys from my college...
But them stations were popping them days as well.
Yeah. If you're into that, I mean, like, you know, it's a massive industry, guys. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
And it's kind of like pre-internet-ish, you know, it was just,
at the time it was. There wasn't any, like, massive Facebook and stuff like that then. But yeah, it was mad. So she obviously, at the time, like, I was a half-naked child, basically, on the show, and it's mad because obviously that station's shut down now, but they didn't ask for my ID. They just assumed because I'd come with this lady that I was of age.
Very back door.
Babe, exactly. And it's like, how fucking mad is that? Like, a minor on a show where guys are ringing up for sex, bruv, on the phone. And obviously, like, I was there, and I remember just being like, you know, like, really not, like, innocent, and just being like this. And then it's just mad to think that this was considered the norm, you know. And I took that path, that Wicked Witch of the West path, and I went into the adult industry. She took me to my first movie and everything. My first scene and stuff, and this industry, I just can't even explain to you. Like, it's so toxic. Like, I remember going to one of my first scenes, and this family making out that they were, you know, again, accepting you into the family. You're part of the family now. Like, and I remember them warning me that everyone's going to say that this company's bad mind. You know, everyone talks about us in the industry, but just ignore them. You're part of our team. Again, tribal instincts. They know what they're doing.
They'll just keep conditioning.
Oh my God, the condition is so real. And obviously, like, in the adult industry, there's levels. And when they can get your first scene in a level, it's worth a lot of money. Like, especially if you end up being a big name. Do you know what I mean? Because they've got your first content. It's sick the way they work. And they're like, they introduced me to their kids, you know what I mean? Made sure that I was feeling really involved. She took me there. And little did I know, there was an actual pimp in that company. But I didn't know at the time. I dodged this one. Bloody hell, I think I would have rather had this one, to be fair. But
is this all still at 17, or was you?
So at 18. So this I went when I was 18. I did. So that's when I took my.
Everything's happening quite fast. Isn't
Babe,
it?
from my 17.
I mean, in 2 years, yeah.
Massively. And it wasn't really like about the last 6 months is when I was 17 that I got introduced to it, and then I ended up on the station. And then after that, I was like, boom, I was in, like, you know. And I always say I sold a part of my soul, and I just, you know, it took me a long time to get it back, but I did it. And it gives me such bad anxiety, you know, like knowing what's out there of me, because I just know where I was. I know how vulnerable I was. And not only that, like, I know what headspace I was in. Like, I'd already picked up an addiction. Like, I was already addicted to coke, do you know what I mean? So when I got into that industry, that's where my money went. When I was on them stations, on babe stations, I was high as fuck, man. Like, they would take the mick out of me there, like, and label me something that was like, you know what I mean, basically like a Dyson, you know. Me and one of the girls there, we was always on it, you know. And that's what I mean, like this fake facade of this sex, drugs and rock and roll. I'm going to tell you some shit about the adult industry now. So it's full of exploitation. Now, you only have to look up about Trafficking Hub, Backpage.com, look at them being complicit in child rape, like, and human trafficking. But it's not just that. I was considered a very high-end adult actress because I won awards. I was on billboards in Australia. I travelled the world. Like, I was very high class and sorted after.
Travelled the world with this?
Yes, babe.
Wow.
Like, I went to Australia. I went to Greece. Like, I went all the way across the world, babe. Like, you know.
You've really seen it from all different angles, this industry.
Yeah, babe. And it's fucking disgusting. There's anal tears. There's feces. I cried so many times. Like, when I did scenes that I should never have done, and I just remember crying. And, like, you know, if you find out about the adult industry, a lot of the young people, I mean, a lot of the girls, because it's predominantly women anyway, because they only have so many male actors, because there's only so many people can step up to the job, and they get paid less as well, guys. They probably do. Like, it's just so fucked up. But anyway, like, a lot of the people in the industry have got a lot of mental health issues, and they have been through abuse themselves. You'll find it very, very rare that you'll see that there isn't a person that's been fucking highly abused in that industry, or they're very young and vulnerable, impressionable. But yeah, man, I seen so much. I swear to God, like, some of the scenes, one of the scenes I did, I remember I seen the girl and she was pushing him off, and if you think about it, like, I've watched rape, like, I genuinely have, like, and one of my scenes, like, I had to get asphyxiated because I was in that much pain. So I did one of the levels, and, you know, the guy, he was like, I could see, and I was thanking him for doing it because I remember how much pain I was in, and he passed me out, and I just remember coming to. you know, and this is the thing, like, people just don't realize about it. It's so disgusting. It gives a false sense of what a sexual, beautiful relationship is. Like, if you're carrying that into the bedroom, I can guarantee you right now, you are carrying exploitation into the bedroom. Like, I have got a very fucking loving relationship now, and I know about what consent is, boundaries, my human rights. Like, I know what feels right, and I believe in sexual energy, and that industry is rife for making it dark, toxic, unreal, everything's for the camera. Like, you're getting put in positions you would never get put in, like, and you're doing it all to make sure the camera can see it. Oh, like, it's just, yeah. So 3 years I was in that industry, and I picked up the biggest cocaine addiction. Like, I was...
so you travelled the world and won awards, and you was only 21 at this point.
Yeah, so 18 to 21 it was. That's when, that's what happened. And all this time,
Did you have any genuine friends in the industry?
She was still my friend. Oh, well, yeah, I did. And I still speak to one of them till this day. She's one of my best friends. And, you know, she come to court for me, and if everything you'll find out. Like, this girl was... she ended up being in one of the darkest parts of my life with me, and I love that girl so much. She's an amazing person. Her name's Stevie Louise, and she's just such a beautiful person. I'm so grateful for her. So when I got to 21, this was mad. So the girl that groomed me basically had gone in and out of my life. So I got into the adult industry, she and got a boyfriend, and then she went out of my life because, she was just doing her thing. Yeah. And then she come back into my life. And I was making moves by this point, you know, doing bits, and then we started to go to Vegas together, met the owner of Mayfair and everything. Like, it was mad. And I had big plans, but then at the age of 21, she introduced me to a man. And that man is responsible for 3 of the darkest years of my entire life. So this man got introduced to me as a gangster, someone who was going to change our lives, you know, someone who could really make us, I got told basically when I was introduced to him, he was going to make us a millionaire within 12 months. The guy had already been prepped about me. He knew I had a coke addiction. He knew what I was in the adult industry. He's seen money. He's seen pound signs. And he promised me the world. So, I am a survivor of human trafficking, and I am a survivor of satanic ritual abuse, and I want people to understand that what I went through with the being human trafficked, it happens a lot in the Western world. So it's called boyfriending or befriending, and they will do the same process as the grooming and the domestic violence. So they befriend you, promise you everything. Some of them end up, being like your, boyfriending. But this guy took more of a protector role on me. I'm your man. I'm here to protect you. You know what I mean? I'm going to get you this because I wanted a production company, because I wanted to help girls to show them how to get, if they were going to go into the adult industry, to show them how to get in it the right way, make your own website, you know what I mean? Do your own stuff. And for the first 6 months, I was being massively groomed. So I was being told what to wear. I was being told what time to turn up. I was told I had to have certain things. He always liked Richmond Super King and Jack Daniels and Diet Coke. I always had to get these things. So I was just kind of being coerced into being human trafficked. And I was being told to give these targets. Now, I thought these targets were for the production company.
Did he work for the production company?
No, we were creating it. So it went to the extent of having meetings with the Sunday Sport, like looking for locations where we could shoot in, getting flyers. So we were basically, going, no. So the Sunday Sport was my connection because I'd already been in there, and you know what I mean, and all this kind of stuff. And
so was he like a money man figure, kind of? Like, did he say he could help you with
He was
everything?
like an agent, a protector kind of
like a guardian
person.
kind of anything.
Yeah, massively. And he, as I said, like, he already knew about my coke addiction, so he'd always bring coke to start off with.
So you're always high. You're not grounded when you're around him.
Yeah. Well, most of the time, like, I was anyway, like, high. But yeah, he always made sure that for the first time, when we was alone, I was fucking at the start it was like, it wasn't bad, you know, but then it started to shift to a little bit of sleep deprivation, do you know what I mean? 24 hours maybe, a little bit of a slap, do you know what I mean? Being told to sort him out. And I'm not going to lie, like at the start I was like, right, okay, yeah, I'll do it, because I thought it was normal anyway. I was already doing what I was doing. And I was getting these targets. These targets were like, you know, $2,000 a week, you know, so much money. And then other girls were there to get these targets, but they were to get this girl's targets as well, because what had happened was when I come in, this other girl could stop working then, and then she could go and find other girls, because what her dream was to go and get be called Madam Wu in an escort agency. That was her dream. So she was then working towards that, and there was other girls there and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, and these girls were very vulnerable girls. They were girls that had been brought out from a site called Adult Work. He'd put out little ads to get them.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when you say there, where is there?
I'd been told that I'd have to move to Birmingham to show my loyalty, to show I was really ready for this. So I moved from London in a very cushy apartment, very, you know, I was living a cushy life, like people from the outside anyway. I did have money. I was in, you know what I mean, a good place. And he was like, move to Birmingham and get a place that you think I'll like. So what did I do? I went and got the fucking penthouse above New Street, didn't I? Like, it was fucking trashy as fuck, mate. Proper little pimp yard. Like, little fucking, like, what, you know what I mean? Like, fur on the fucking, like, ceiling, like, do you know what I mean? On the walls and shit. God knows what the fuck I was doing. Like, honestly, I thought I should get what he wanted. So obviously I was getting what I thought he wanted. So, and then I got punished for that later, because apparently that's not what he wanted. So, you know, hey ho. But... yeah, so it was like being brought. So basically, we had a base which was there, but so
which was your home.
So this was my home, but I was hardly there because I was always working. But to the girls, you got to imagine the penthouse looked pretty cushy, didn't it? Mm-hmm. So obviously, it was a really good thing for him to trap people, to bring them in. You know, Sam, you know, bring these girls in off Adult Work. You know, I'm at this point, I'm like, yeah, he's going to make me a millionaire. He's fucking, you know, he's this, he's that. I'm giving him this money, like basically. So
you're advertising him, like
exactly, babe. Like, and this is what the worst thing was. Like, I didn't even fucking realize. But I was literally being broken down bit by bit. And this girl was obviously the girl that was grooming me. She was getting her money taken off her as well. And within 3 to 4 months, she'd done a runner. I was left by myself, but it wasn't hard for my loyalty to go from him to her, her to him, because she was paying her bills from my bank account. He had exposed all this stuff to me, because when we was on the set, she would always like, you know, get information out of someone, because he was like a master manipulator. He'd take you in a room, talk to you, bring you out, take someone else into a room, and you were never allowed to talk to each other, because if he found out you talked to each other, he'd show. It's all a test, your loyalties. So we'd find out, and he'd be like, oh, good, your loyalty's with her. But really, he wanted your loyalty with him. So slowly but surely, mastermind. Babe, honestly, the only way I can explain this guy is like Darren Browne, an evil Darren Browne. So Darren Browne is like a psychologist, and he's also a magician. And he shows people how he psychologically manipulates them to do what he wants them to do for magic. He was an evil version of that, and that's the only way I can explain it. Like an evil, weak
version, because it's like a whole bunch of women that are, you know, in really
vulnerable
situations, like, you know what I mean? And then they release their
fake power.
Yeah.
And then using the women to get over women as well.
Exactly, and it's called a sudden ease effect. So this is what they call it.
Sudden ease effect.
Sudden ease effect in human trafficking. They take the broken girl and they get them to get the other girls.
Wow.
That's how they work.
It's like a constant cycle.
Yeah, baby, it's a massive cycle, and the average life of a human trafficking victim is 7 years.
All right, so let me just round up quickly, just for
where we was
for me and Chris. So
yeah,
parents broke up. Kind of an ordinary childhood, but then at 16 you met someone that was basically your groomer. And it was a woman.
Yes.
And she presented herself as like a lap dancer or stripper, you said, at first
initially,
and it started getting slightly sexual between you and some of the friends, and she would dance for you, and it was making you feel quite uncomfortable. Go forward a year, you're now introduced to Babe Station, was it?
Yeah.
Through her?
Yeah, and being coerced into exploitation.
Wow. you travelled the world, won awards, so you've really seen the industry from like the kind of
top end,
grassroots and the top end level.
Whatever you want to, if there is a top end, but yeah, I was yeah.
It wasn't just you wasn't doing like amateur videos. Let's just say you've been It's the actual profession. Okay.
Very high end mansions, about like islands, like
Wow, mansions and islands. Okay.
Yeah.
You're a credible source for basically.
Yeah, man, I'm here to expose all people know.
Lived the so-called conspiracies.
Yeah, exactly, and I know about this industry, and that's why I hope that all the producers now, I hope they're listening to me right now when they know exactly what they were complicit in, whether they want to think it or not, they will. Like, if I've got anything to do with it, they will.
Yeah. And then you was introduced to a man who became like kind of like a guardian figure and kind of protected you in a sense.
That's what he claimed, yeah. I guess that's what he presented himself as, my man who was going to protect me and give me everything that I wanted in this world.
And he was quite a bit older than you?
Oh God, yeah, he was a lot older than me. Like, he was more of a dad side, like, kind of figure, like that kind of thing. Like, that's what he presented himself as. And yeah, but then, like I say, like it was always sexual from the start anyway, because of me being a sexual object. I was always like there to make the money, but I just didn't know it at the time. So yeah, I think we've got up to the point of where it started to get dark, and I just, every time I go there, like, I just can't believe, like, sometimes how evil someone can be. And as I was saying, like, this isn't about spreading conspiracy. This isn't about anything else, about me spreading my truth to protect other people, because I know now that man is walking the streets. And if I don't tell people, it's going to bother me. I have a care of duty to do this. And I'm putting myself on the line every time. Everyone knows how hard it is to share your most vulnerable parts. Some people will never share. They'll die with their story in them. But I'm doing this for every survivor. Like, I am the face of something that is very, very undercover, like, that is pushed under the carpet. Satanic ritual abuse is seen as a theory, and it's not. And this guy, when he exposed himself as a member of the Illuminati, started to telling us, to start looking at what it was. So, we started to find out about things like subliminal messages, mind programming, and how things work.
Had you heard of the Illuminati at this?
Never.
So this is brand new.
Listen, babe, I was there with my Fendi bag in my little world, cokehead world, thinking that, if I was giving a $5 to the fucking homeless man, I was doing my bit. Do you know what I mean? And at that point, I was looking down, thinking I was fucking better than them. That's the world I was living in, that artificial, superficial world that I can guarantee some people that are watching this right now might be in. And I get it. Yeah, you're not taught this in school. You ain't taught about any of this, and I understand, and I wish I would have been, because fucking hell, it can prepare you. Like, and I'm hoping this information can hopefully save someone, because if I can stop one person from going through this, then I've done my job. But I'm not. I'm going to go for millions, and I know I'm going to save millions of kids by doing this. So when he started exposing himself as a member of the Illuminati, he started saying weird things about Satan. Lucifer was his god. And that's when the consistent torture, the rape, the humiliation, the sleep deprivation, just the constant nights keeping us up, programming us, like beating us, and then beating one person, beating another person, saying it's in the name of Lucifer, that he called his god, started to drill in, tell me about places where he would take me and jack me up on heroin, about these tunnels in North Wales that he would take me, just bringing in girls off the streets. Like, at the start there was girls off the streets, but then he started to bring in girls that were heavily addicted to heroin and crack, getting them to rattle in front of me. Like, so basically what a rattle is where your body decomposes when you take hard drugs like that, because it's in your bone marrow. And these poor girls off the street were made to shit themselves in front of me. like break down to the point like, oh, it was awful, you know, so that basically he could control them.
And he would make you watch. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, make me watch.
And he would sit there watching.
He would be there. No, obviously, and it'd be my fault that these girls were going through this. And then obviously when I was getting a beat or a rape, like it was their fault that I was going through that because they weren't obeying him. Like, so he would be turning us on each other constantly. We were always the enemy of each other. Oh, and then just the weird shit, man, the rituals, like, and I can't even explain, like, this guy, he would say things about, like, paedophilia openly, like, saying about the best blowjob he'd had was of a 5-year-old, and after that he'd slit her throat, you know, like, talk about, you know, if you keep fucking up on me, have sex with a dog and all this shit, like, do you know what I mean? Like, openly talking about bestiality, like, this shit was normal. And I just remember, like, one night, he'd kept us up for 5 days, like, and like I was saying to you before, baby, it wasn't like we was, you know, you think you're going to fall asleep, like it's fucking SAS shit on fucking Channel 4, stay asleep, like, you know, just wake you up, like, no. I'm talking about being constantly beaten through these, and I only remember it was 5 days because of seeing the sun go up and down, and we'd hired this apartment, and we'd been told that the apartment that we was in, that we'd booked for 2 days, and he was like, book it for another 2 days in the other one, and we had to move apartments, and then we extended the day. But I just remember seeing the sun go up and down and up and down, and
you're being beaten all day in this room.
This is sick shit. So there's constant coke, there's constant narcotics. You're being kept up on these narcotics, and you know you're being drilled about this stuff all the time, like, you know, Satan and Lucifer, and you know what is live backwards evil. Who do you think you're living for when you've lived? The devil.
Like the more he kind of like told you about the Illuminati stuff, the more his actions like got worse.
Babe, it was like he was exposing himself to me, and he had zero fucks given. Like, he was talking about the Vatican, how he had all friends in high places, some of the victims had been taken to places, babe. Like, I never got taken anywhere, but he took people places and made them do stuff with other people, you know, like, it's not, this guy, like, I can never even think of anyone as evil. And there was one time I was like, you know, I'm just going to kill myself, because, you know, you just think, fuck it, like, and I remember he had a knife to me, and he was like, you know, I'm going to kill you. And then he switched the knife on him and was like, grabbed my hand and was like, kill me, because he always used to try and see if I would, you know, push. I can't even fucking hurt a fly. Like, I'm not being funny. I hug trees. I might look like a little bit of a road yell and all that, but I'm literally like, I hug trees for a living. Like that, I can't hurt people. Even now, like, it sounds bad, but I couldn't even hurt him.
Was he the only man in the house most of the time?
Yeah, most of the time. So basically there was drivers and stuff and security that would come posing that, you know, they would drop us off and stuff like that. But he was always the one, yeah.
And so just a bit more clarity on the story. All the girls in your... Is it kind of like he's a pimp situation at this point now, yeah?
Massively.
So you're going out, coming in, making money for him. You said earlier you've got like targets.
So the targets stayed consistently, but then they started to get bigger.
What happened to your place as well?
Oh, so basically, So after about, I think it was about a year, I was then told it would be cheaper not to live anywhere, all my stuff in storage and live out of a suitcase. And that's when it started to be that I was like made to work 7 days a week. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was lucky to get Christmas off and my birthday. And it was just like every day, and I would rather work and degrade myself, because sometimes I had to degrade myself to as little as £50 an hour without protection to get this guy's money, because I'm telling you, I always got that money because I knew that if I didn't get that money, I was scared for my life, but I was scared for my parents' lives as well. Like, you know, he had their address. I really didn't want anything to happen to them.
So there must have been a point where, because earlier you with this lady, you said like you saw her as like a god.
Yeah.
When it transferred over to him, was it kind of the same at first?
At first, yeah,
okay,
it was.
So
but then,
there was no fear at first with him?
So at the start, no, and that's what it was. But then when the Illuminati come, I shit myself because it was so weird. No, I'm not even joking to you, right? And you can look this up on YouTube. This is very, very real. So basically, once he disclosed himself, he had disclosed himself, and then he had like beat me in front of the person that was there, and he would like headbutted me and all this stuff. And then I went back to my house. When I went back to my house, I shit you not, I put Comedy Central on, I had South Park on. And I had Sky Plus at the time, and I remember, and this weird thing popped up. And if you weren't looking for, I was just basically just staring because I was just like, I was in such a daze, and I was, I got scared into my own because I was at my dad's house, and I thought I'd feel safe if I went back to my dad's house, but I didn't. I still felt really scared. So I was just in a daze, like watching the TV, and I was watching it, and it come up, this mad like screen. So I rewinded it. Fucking said I was a member of the Illuminati, didn't it? And you can look this up on YouTube. Like, there's people that have took videos because they actually do have on Comedy Central these mad subliminal things that they put up, and they'll put up something, and unless you see it, you won't ever see it. Do you know what I mean? Like, unless you rewind it and you're like, what the fuck is that? And they have these pages on there, like, these basically like, it fills the screen with all words. Just so happened the words for me that night, what happened to be, because there's different words each time, that I was a member of the Illuminati. And obviously I thought, fuck, who is this man? As he got into my TV, is this real? Like, obviously I was like, fuck. I thought then this guy was fucking everything. So I always think...
Really, sorry, that confused me. I didn't understand. Your name came up on TV. So
not my name. No. Sorry, it wasn't my name. It was kind of like, welcome to the Illuminati. You are now a member. And
that actually happened.
Yeah,
so
babe,
you got hacked, basically.
I don't know if it was hacked, because this is something that happens on Comedy Central, because I've obviously looked this up, and it was in
a very weird coincidence.
Yeah, it was either like a very like, but again, like coincidences, like maybe they're doing these things. Yeah. Maybe these cults do these things and they know, like, do you know what I mean? There's just, the end of the day, I know that these cults work in many different ways, and the way that the Illuminati work is that they are a form of control. They own the media, and he was very open about this stuff to me. He was saying, like I said to you, his friends, about the Pope, the Vatican, just talking about all his friends in high places. And, I remember he used to say to me, he was like, if you think I'm evil, like, you have no idea about my friends. He's like, you've got one of the good ones. And I genuinely believe him.
Yeah, I mean, I have to believe him. If he's on the street still and trying to like hire out flats, it's like, well, he must be kind of low level still.
Dave, honestly, and he used to pride himself in being like, look at me, Sam, like, do you think anyone's going to suspect me? And because he bought these girls off the street, do you think they're going to believe you and a bunch of crackheads?
So you was like a special one then? He only told you this stuff, did he?
No, stuff? He did tell a couple of other girls and as well, and that's why I'm just... See, for me, this is why I tell my story, because I want people to understand, like, my story. I've got witnesses. The guy was put in prison. Like, he was outed by the news, and I got put on the news to expose my story as well. And it's like, if them things didn't happen, how many people have been dismissed with a story like mine because people can't comprehend it? And I'm telling you, it's not okay that people are going through this stuff right now. And most of all, it's kids. If a kid went through what I went through, they would not survive. I'm telling you, they wouldn't. And if they did, they'd fucking be probably killing people. And that's why it makes sense why we've got such a broken society. Because people won't talk about their abuse anymore, and I understand, but it's so common. But satanic ritual abuse is more real than what people think anyway. Now,
so when you say that, did he teach you how to practice this kind of?
So he did rituals on me. So basically, like, but it's not like he didn't like use a pentagram or anything like that. He would just speak in tongue, and
did it seem credible, all of this? Like, did he seem like he was actually... when he was speaking in tongue, it's like...
He sounded like the devil, babe, yeah. And obviously as well, like, because I was around him a lot, like, the last thing I ever wanted to do was spend time with him. But for 3 years, I was around him a lot. And I felt him switch. It's like, and sometimes I seen his eyes change, do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm like... I really believe in, like, the fact that they can channel these demons and shit. Like, honestly, like, I literally felt it in him, and that's when he would do all of this weird shit and stuff. And I just remember him doing this weird ritual once. He said he was going to initiate me, and he would sit me down and he'd speak in tongue to me, and then he would make me open my mouth and he'd blow his air into my mouth. Like, and it was weird. It was kind of like he was a softer person then, like, apart from like all, like when he was doing that to me, he kind of like turned into a bit of a softer character. I was waiting for him to like juck me up, do you know what I mean? Like thinking, oh my God, is he going to like draw some blood out of me? Because one time like he punched me and my lip bled, and then he went and got my blood and like licked it. So it was like, I just didn't know whether what was ever going to happen. But the times that he did these things to me, he was actually like quite soft in nature, which was very strange. Like when he was saying that he was like initiating me and doing these weird voodoo things on me. Yeah, so dark. Like, and you know, it was a challenging thing. Like for me to get away, like it was definitely God's work. Like it was, without a doubt, it was universal. It was meant to have happened the way that it was. Because basically a lady, someone had come and they tried to help, and at this time when they had went, I wasn't ready, you know. But what happened was, when that person had gone, they'd started to go to the police. So I was there for about another year and a half by myself.
By yourself?
So yeah, but obviously other girls were coming and going. That's was always the case. I was just the one that stayed the whole time throughout it, you know.
Could you explain what, like, the mentality of why you stay? Because it must be so confusing for someone to understand why you would.
It's the same with domestic violence. They're like, why would you stay if someone's hitting you? Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, are you fucking all right in the head, mate? What happens? It's like slavery. They break your mind first. Like, you keep the body strong and the mind weak. That's the only way that they can do these things to you, is they break your fucking mind. They make you feel like you're a piece of shit. So you accept that work and you think that that's normal. Like they and then also as well, the fear, like, you don't, I didn't want to hurt my family. Like I didn't want to fucking die. Like, do you know what I mean? Like anything he said, I was like, yeah, whatever you want me to do, you know.
They put things in place so you can't like escape almost.
Yeah,
like,
babe. If you do, he was like, I'm watching you. Remember, you know, I had to text this guy my taxi registration numbers I was in. Wow. You know, I had a separate phone, like a burner phone. Do you know what I mean? Like, and if I didn't answer that phone, even if I was mid client working, I was in trouble. Do you know what I mean? Like, and
24/7, that is in your head.
Constant,
kind of and he's saying he's connected to like the Pope and stuff.
Yeah, big
like
people,
massive.
babe.
So like, yeah, the paranoia level would just be
different, babe. And he did plant punters. I know we did because the thing is, like, we can go on to like how I got away now. Like towards the end, like one of the punters was like, he was definitely planted by him, because when we were about to go to court, he was like, he rang me, this punter. And I wish I knew his name now, because I swear I doubt him as well. I really don't care anymore. Like, but I remember he was from Ireland, from Belfast, and this guy, and he was making out like he knew Steve, like, because his name's Stephen McAllister, by the way, and he's public domain. You can find his name anywhere, like online. He's been marked as the Evil Pimp of Birmingham. And what people need to understand with the Illuminati, they have zero fucks either. If you don't do something right, they will grass on their own.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? They always do it, like Harvey Weinstein.
Especially he's a bottom man. He's a pawn to their game as well.
Yeah,
you know, they'll just get terminated. Yeah.
Literally, and
how many years did he get?
Oh God, this is the fucking tyranny of it. Like, literally, it's criminal. So obviously we all went to court. He got found guilty of trafficking me and a minor, and he got 8.5 years in prison. Didn't get found guilty of the rape, because it's near, if you look at the justice system, it's near enough impossible for you to get a rape charge, because of the, you know, you basically need to get raped and then do a swab. But every rape victim knows who the fuck's gonna do that? Try and scrub yourself with Dettol, mate, never mind. Like, but he got 4 years on good behaviour. So he's basically fucked up so many people, like took so many lives, like guaranteed girls off the streets have killed themselves because of him. And I know they have, because obviously when he got outed, he was giving making our money, trying to make it into a charity, a single mum's charity. He was giving our money to these charities so we could go there, like the do-gooder, then started abusing people there as well. Like, these people are everywhere, and they just don't understand how much that they're trying to cover this up because of the way that they've been doing it for years, and they're getting away with it because of their sick little shit. Do you know how much money that I give that man? Nearly $250,000 minimum, babe. This is a multi-billion-pound industry. Makes more
this
than
one guy. This one guy.
Yes.
It's a shock. Really. It's blown up, babe, honestly.
And that was just you, not all the other girls.
Not all the other girls, babe. I was taking money off.
Makes you realise how this is why
it's a massive, like, corrupt network.
Babe, do you know what I'm saying? Funny, like...
Did he have a job, like a fake job that he, like...
No. Not that I know of, anyway. And when they outed him in the newspapers and stuff, he never... No.
And so the reason he went to jail, it was directly connected to your name and a minor?
Yeah. Yeah, and also, apparently he lived in a high-rise building, a high-rise flat, had kids, like, had a missus, and it's just no joke, man. It's absolutely no joke. So when I got away, basically, so that girl, bless her, had started the police process. Now, obviously, like, I'm here to expose it all, and you know what? There is some banging police officers. I'm so lucky for the police officer that come from my case, but the poor girl that had gone prior to me and gone back to the police to try and start this trial while I was still in the situation, fucking police officer, fucking female police officer, the way that they treated that girl, disgusting. She fucking come in there, mind you, like this. She was the young girl. She'd gone there, fucking did that really happen to you? Are you sure? Huffing, you hear this girl is on her witness statement, bless her, on the video. You hear the fucking police lady huff at her. No, it upsets me because you don't know how hard it is as a survivor to tell your story, and the last thing you need is the people that are there to protect you to turn on you. And I'm telling you that I'm so glad, because the judge got her fucking taken out. Like, she's not a police lady no more. We were, again, there's corrupt judges, but we had a good one, and I want people to know that when I'm exposing this corruption, you have to understand there is good people in these industries as well. There is very good people, like there's amazing social workers, there's amazing police officers, but when people get in positions of power, this is what Steve used to say to me. I pay someone $2,000, Sam. You know, I only need to pay someone $2,000, like, because obviously the jury, they're the civilians, aren't they? And he's like, people need money, Sam. It's like, I only need to pay one of them off. So obviously, and then because he said he shot his son for grassing to the police, no one wanted to really go forward. You know what I mean? No one ever wanted to, but this brave lady did. This young, beautiful lady did. And when she went, she was treated like that, and she carried on. She was like, there's a girl there now, go and find her. They obviously carried it on for a year and a half, the courts, the police thing, situation. And at this point, I'd had another girl that had come, another lady, and who was being exploited as well. Again, single mum. He had a certain type, like it was a single mum or a girl that was like a crackhead or something. I was his prized possession. You have to understand, an adult actress like who was making money, willing to do these things, like you know what I mean, loving his life. And she already knew about the Illuminati. Now, this goes to the extent, guys, that I have actually got 666 branded on my finger. Like, it's not a joke. Like, this guy made me get this. Now, when I was there with this other lady, this was probably about a year before, she said that she noticed the branding. And when she noticed the branding, she said that she had to stay. And she stayed for a few months. And she was... the first person that made me think for myself, because I wasn't allowed to, like I'm never allowed to question. I wasn't even allowed to call him. I had to call someone for him then to call me, but I never did that because I was a person that knew their place. And this lady, I was saying before how we worked with the isolation, she started telling me what he was saying. So she was the first person to be like, did you say that, Dave? And I was like, no. I was like, who said I said that? And he was like, Steve. And I was like, what? I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, and then when she decided to go, because after a few months she went, she rang me and she was like, you have apparently stolen all my money. And I'm like, what? I'm like, Steve said you've got all my money? Like, and I'm just like, no, babe. And that's when I started to realise. And what happened then, when I told Steve what had been said, because I always have to say, if he found out, I would never want them repercussions. So I told him, and then basically he said if I ever spoke to her again, he'd snap my jaw. So I wasn't allowed to speak to her. So I guess the cracks started to kind of creep up on me then. So it was like what the fuck, like that doesn't make sense, like things. I just started to think for myself. And
so he was breaking out of the spell.
I guess it was the spell, babe. Yeah, I guess I just started to be able to think for my own self, the mind control.
And he was talking on behalf of. He was saying you were saying stuff and just fucking up your rep or something like that? Is that what you mean?
So he was telling her, and like he did with a lot of people, that it was my fault about what had happened. It was me that had got him in the situation. It was me that had made all of this happen, and it was me that was taking the money. You know, I was the one that wanted to get everyone in the situation because it was my financial benefit, of course. So that's how it was portrayed anyway. And
what situation?
So the situation that all the girls were in when he was taking their money, and then because it was me, that it was all my fault basically, because I'd introduced them. You know, I'd been the Sudanese. I was the one that was saying he was the best thing since sliced bread.
So he's blaming you for it all.
Yeah, of course. Like any situation, then, you know, and these girls ended up then in obviously the same situation as me. He would then be like, well, she brought you here. She said this to you. It was her fault. And obviously he's been drilling them in the other room by themselves. But this was the first girl that said what he had said. And then with this lady, before she left, it was nice because I was allowed to go out for my birthday, and that's when I met the love of my life, who I'm with now. And that's when I started to get like someone loved me, and I guess I'd never experienced that, like, you know, obviously my parents love me, but I dismissed that. It was the first time I kind of accepted love for myself of someone, and I kind of like thought I was worthy of it, you know. Yeah, it was mad because everyone else he could turn on each other, but he couldn't with her. She was working at Mackey's, you know. She was
McDonald's.
Yeah, my missus was at the time,
Wow.
and she was just, you know, she was doing a university degree in animation, and she was just such a good person. He couldn't do anything, and she just started to question me, and he seen obviously then there was a relationship forming, and then he had to play his cards a different way then, because he knew that obviously if she found out what was really going on, and I told her that, you know, there was potentially someone that could go to the police. And obviously at this time, there was already someone that was going through they was going through the police process and stuff like that. Obviously, as I started to get with my missus, and I was getting away, it was so mad. Like, so basically first, it was a case of, what I'm going to do, Sam, he made it really, really nice. You know, I'm going to let you stop brassing now, and we're going to get you to stop brassing on Valentine's Day. Really set up, really sweet. And then
so just so people know, he was gonna say to people, you don't have to sleep with anyone anymore.
Yeah, basically that was the case. But I did have to still give him $2,000 a month from webcam, and I had to pay off this $5,000 coat bill that he'd made.
From webcam, that's a whole different story.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay,
so this is why people don't understand that the exploitation happens on every scale. Just be careful, guys. Like, you know, like as I said, the adult industry is fucking disgusting. So if you are doing it, you are quite close to probably viewing someone who is being exploited. So I obviously bit his hand off because I'd gone from $5,000 a week to $2,000 a month. But what people need to understand is, even if you're on webcam, you are still, that I had bills to pay. I was, you know, still having to make $4,000 a month, which was hard.
Wow.
You know, so it was a case of, you know, including the coke bill and stuff. So I guess then, because I didn't have to start seeing him at all, because I was giving the money to the coke dealer to pass to him, I was starting to, like you said, break even more from the spell and think for myself and just get out of this mind control. And obviously I was being loved then as well. So it was good for me, and it was good for my soul, and it started to make me see things very differently about, like, what I was going through was wrong. And I remember she just gave me so much strength. She was like, Sam, ring him. I was like, I just can't, babe, I can't do it. And she was just like, but why are you giving him money though, Sam? Like, why? You know, and I guess, like, because I knew I wanted to spend my life with this girl and have a family, I just started to think, if I've got to give this guy $2,000 a month, how the fuck am I going to be able to do it? So I was like, went to, this was the first time, I know. I remember going in my front room and I sat, I thought it was this couch, but it wasn't. I was like, oh, it's this couch, but it's not. I just remember sitting on the couch, and for the first time I rang Pete, because I wasn't allowed to ring him directly. So I rang Pete and I was like, can you get Steve to call me? I think it was within seconds my man calls me because he knows that had never happened in the 3 years. And he was like, are you okay? Everything okay? And I was like, yeah, it's fine. You know, I just asked him, I was just like, you know, why am I giving you money? I just wanted to know. And he was like, why are you okay? And I was just like, yeah, I just would like to know, you know, because I'm struggling a bit now. It's hard. And he was like, I tell you what, we'll call it quits. After 3 years of all of this stuff, he said, let's call it quits. And then he left it on him being a very, I guess, you know, he wanted to end on his protector mode. Like, so remember, I made all this happen for you, Sam. So everything now, you know, it's because you deserve it, you know, because he's like, you passed the test or whatever. Leaving his little imprint to make out, you know, just in case I wanted to say something. No, he was the good guy, you know.
That's a little dig kind of thing.
Yeah, babe. And that was it, like. And I remember 2 weeks later, like, a police card come through my door. Obviously, I shit myself. I was like, nope, not today. Goodbye. Because obviously, you said about the setup. I was messaging the girl who we'd called Angel. And I was like, is this a real police card? Is this real? And she was like, yes, Sam, it's real.
Who was Angel? Sorry.
So Angel was the girl who was the girl who realised what the 666 was, who kind of was the first person
and
to help me.
And she stayed around for a while long. Yeah.
So after, because the thing was, it's like we always stayed in touch, but I never told him. So that's when it was kind of like, you know, I was doing things that I was kind of like, yeah.
You were starting to almost, manipulate and think back.
Yeah, because I was like, why should I not speak to this lady? Like, you know, I loved her kids as well. Her kids were amazing. And I was just like, well, why?
Started to get that in the stress.
Yeah, and I remember messaging her and I was like, you know, is this real? She was like, Sam, it's real. Like, that's a real card. Like, and I was like, oh my God. And I remember the girl contacting me and saying, Sam, it's me. I need you to do this. Because obviously the police contacted me. I was like, no, fuck off. You know what I mean? And put the phone down. Like, and then they persisted. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, and then the girl rang me and she was like, Sam, it's me. And I just knew I had to do it. I just knew. And I got as many girls as I could. I tried to contact as many people as I could. And I brought a couple of girls with me, one of them being my best friend, who I mentioned because she was with me for a couple of months and I'm glad because she's seen how evil he was. You know, she never went through what I did, but she got abused by him. Like, he knocked her about, and he also, you know, she's seen the satanic stuff, what he was doing and saying to me, you know, about the fucking pissing in the mouth and all that stuff. Like, that's what she's seen. Like, she knew that was real. And I'm just so glad because when, you know, like from the start, there was girls that went and gone and, you know, they would have seen different parts of it. And because of everyone that come to court, the story was so consistent. There was girls there at the start, girls there in the middle, girls there at the end, and we'd managed to bring 7 girls that were consistent with all of it right to the very end. Even my partner went to the court for us to say about what he was like, and obviously towards the end and stuff. And it was amazing. The police lady, Katrina Sands, she's fucking insane. Most beautiful person, one of the most beautiful people I've ever met, and she was the first person to make me realise it wasn't my fault, and she believed me, you know. And I remember giving my statement. It was like 4.5 hours long, you know, like when, you know, the video statement. And we went to Crown Court because obviously what people don't understand is when it's magistrates court, if it's a higher prosecution, a higher crime, they go to Crown Court. So we was in Birmingham Crown Court for 3 weeks. The trial went on for it was mad because we had a screen, and even in the courtroom, he was doing his little manipulative little moves. Oh, little cretin, like turning around and like banging, you know, like banging on when one of us was giving us our thing, and one of the victims, like, because she couldn't face being in the same room as him because of what he'd done to her, like she had to go like, you know, a video screen. And he fucking went bam, 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 because what had happened was one of the times we'd gone to Thailand and he had made us go there and like pretending it was like a really good thing. And then he'd come over and he'd made us like, he'd made us do some sick shit. He tried to make one of the girls kill one of the girls in the Thailand. Like, they took a working girl back and he tried to make her kill her and stuff. Fucking honestly. So, but basically he'd fucked up with his story. So he said he'd gone to Thailand at a different time, and the story didn't match up to his flight documents and all that stuff. And he was like, bam, bam, bam. And he was like, no, she's right. But obviously it was a psychological technique. Why you have to go bam, 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 do you know what I mean? And even when I was the court in there, he was like tapping on the thing to get his little defense little lawyer. She's a little cretin as well. Like, I don't know any. And do you know what? Like, the worst thing about it is that defense person apologized to my dad because she fucking knew. And the fact that these people are getting defended, it fucking makes me sick. So yeah, we got him put in prison, 8.5 years, trafficking me and a minor. He got found, forced prostitution, for trafficking humans, and got 8.5 years and got out in 4. And this is why I'm sick of it, because I'm sick of the system protecting paedophiles and protecting people like this. I know people that have had a text message being sent to them and they've been given half the sentence that he has. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, for a fucking text message.
Because they must know this when they're doing it as well, that the risk isn't really...
Exactly, what is it to them?
So they'll just carry on anyway, kind of thing.
Especially if they think they've got connections,
to people.
Well,
yeah.
This is the thing, when he was in court, it's so funny. He was like, when he was about to get sentenced, he's like, oh, I feel sick, my arse is bleeding. And I thought, yeah, well, you're fucking going to drop the soap, aren't you, mate? That's why. And I just thought, do you know what I mean? Like, I had to get my little dig out because I was like, do you know, your arse will be bleeding, mate? Like, and I never wish harm on people, but I believe in karma. And I'm just like, why make up something like that? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what, for the jury to pity you? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, when you have children, he had children. Like, he lived in a high rise with a girl. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and he was making out in society he was a good guy and taking our money to charities. Like, and then it found out in the papers when they outed him, he was fucking exploiting people there as well. Like, honestly. And this is the thing, like, so, he was outed on the news. And obviously then it took me, it was 8 years ago now, when it happened, and I got away, and we went through the whole court case because, it took a little while after and stuff, like a couple of years. And I remember at the time I found, like, so for after a little while, I was still working. I actually still went back into the industry because I didn't know any different. But for the first time, the money was, in a long time, the money was mine. But it didn't last very long, with me and my partner. And that's why I love her so much. Like, she stuck with me through everything. I was still doing the webcam. I went back to escorting for a little while because I had a debt. Like, I had no money. Like, I'd never been able. I think I was in like near enough 20 grand's worth of debt because I had no money, and he'd put me in an overdraft, and I'd have to get loans to pay things. Do you know what I mean? So I was in a really bad mess. So I had to get this money, and I went back on the Babe station, and world hadn't changed, you know what I mean? I was still taking drugs, obviously. I hadn't coped very well with what had happened.
So he's in prison at this time now? So
no, he's out this year, and that's why I think I've had to speak so much this year, because for 5 years I have been speaking about, for 4 years, sorry, I have been speaking about my story. I think when we got him put in prison, that's when I started to speak. And I was like, right, I'm going to share my story now about being a human trafficking survivor. And then, even if you look at my interview on the BBC News, because I ended up going on there 2 years ago, which is why it's really good, because my story you can't not believe it, because it's been all over the news. Like I said to you, like, I'm sick of people dismissing stories like mine because of their cognitive dissonance, because they can't understand, because these people haven't been put in prison. Like, how much did Jimmy Savile get away with until he died? He had to get deaded. He didn't even get his sentence. Like, how many victims? Like, I'm talking disabled kids and everything with him. So, like, honestly, the dissonance is too much for me now. And I'm just like, 4 years ago when I told my story, I was working as well for the biggest human rights organisation in the world, So after I was doing that work, but as I said, it didn't last very long. I realised I was kind of like, I was selling, that part of me didn't want to be sold anymore, and I wanted to belong to one person, and I wanted to understand what, I guess, not being a sexual object was for the first time in a long time. Yeah, babe. And also, like, to give myself to one person, like, she owns me, like, my heart, my soul, my body, like, it belongs to her, like. And I just was like, you know, it was, yeah. And I remember I told my story, and straight from the point, you know, and I you know, at that point I ended up, you know, working for Amnesty International, and I found a purpose. Like, I realized that what human rights were, and that they've been taken away. I started stopping things like child marriage and FGM. I started to realize about the corruption of the governments, with plurals, by the way. And I remember Steve telling me about things like the presidency and Obama, and then I started to work for Amnesty, and we were responsible for saving refugees because he was dropping bombs every 20 minutes, you know, in all these Middle East, and no one was knowing this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, and these prisoners of conscience that were getting locked up, like Albert Woodfox and Edward Snowden, who were whistleblowers of these corruption. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, everything Steve has said, because for me, I still had cognitive dissonance about what had happened to me. I did not want to face it. And only when I started having therapy and working for these organizations, I was like, shit. And I think when we got him put in prison, I found the strength, and I was like, no, something inside of me said I had to speak. And from the day I spoke, the papers were on me. They wanted me to tell my story, and I was, you know, it was hard because obviously, like, my family, they've had to heal in their own ways. But I know the reason that I'm doing this, it's so much bigger than me. It's so much bigger than my family. And I don't mean that I love them unconditionally, but this is bigger than all of us. And if we can't protect our future generations from these demons, you know, why have I been given all this knowledge? Like, why did he tell me all this stuff? Why do I know this? Like, I can't. Yeah, I have to tell you, I have to tell the world, I just can't. I've been silenced for too long. I'm not feeling in shame and guilt anymore. I did nothing wrong, and the world needs to know about people like this. And so yeah, and it, you know, it's took me a long time, but now it's amazing because 8 years later, you know, for the first year last year, I stopped depending on drugs. You know, I'll admit I've been healed through psychedelics as well, like, you know, and I truly believe that can really help, especially with PTSD and the trauma that I've had inflicted on me. But not just that, I've done years of personal development. I've done neuroscience, I've done neuroplasticity, I've rewired my brain. Like, I'm such a geek. I know about this electricity in my brain.
Swear down.
And I've actually had to constantly program myself to say, I'm a survivor, I'm not a victim. And I guess when I've took that mentality, I've studied my greatness and my power, and I'm like, oh, hell no. Like, you tried to bury not even a seed. You tried to bury a star seed, motherfucker. And I'm coming for you now. So, like, last year, I set up my first organization, Diamond Dew Project, started to go into schools.
Diamond Dew
Project. So I always say the reason we've been through so much pressure, been cut real deep, and it's took us a long time to get to where we are, is because we're diamonds in it. And it ain't no Rolex that gives you your worth. It's you as a person. And when I'm going now, I volunteered for 4 years to go into schools, and then I built my organisation, Diamond Dew Projects, where I go into schools and I took everything I learned from volunteering, but then also incorporated mental health, so I could improve mental health, and I could also do exploitation awareness within the youth and the criminal justice sector. And my big dream of that organisation is to make sure that cretins like Steve get more in prison than someone that sells drugs, because people ask for drugs. People don't ask to get raped and sold, like, and what, he's getting out of 4 years. No, this is bullshit. Lady Justice is her eyes are blindfolded for a reason, and we have to be the generation to unblindfold her and get these systems, because this is a systemic problem that we have. So when I go into the schools, and you know, I've taught for councils, I've been to the Houses of Parliament for my activism work. I was on the BBC spreading my truth. You know, I've been in all the national newspapers now talking about this stuff. And last year I set up we're in 2021 now, aren't we? So last year I decided to set up another charity very late last year called Stop Child Exploitation. And through my research, what we need to realise is these wars really are cover-ups for something a lot bigger. And if you actually look into how many kids are getting exploited, if we look at the registered kids alone, most of them are predominantly from the Middle East and Africa. And that's why I want to go over to them countries and now build safe houses and education pods to go and to protect these kids over there, because they are being taught and they're being brought and they're being sold to the Western world. Like, you have to understand, like, the child exploitation industry is so big, and they are my missions now. And I think last year when he come out of prison last year, like, I had such a fucking awakening where I was like, no.
So 2020 he came out. Yeah,
2020
so
he came
today
out.
he's just walking around
the
somewhere.
Streets, and we've got a restraining order on it, and he's on the sex offenders register for life. But I'm being made to sign a petition where now sex offenders can change their name by depot. Like, why am I signing that petition? Like, why am I having to make that happen? Like, they should not be allowed to do that. It should be public domain. Like, they're showing, like, anything on the news. They should be showing these nonces and these human traffickers for joke. Like, we need to be protected. Where are we being protected?
Blend back into the
society. Exactly.
Just change their name and
protecting, like pedo protectors.
But it's always been that, hasn't it? Like in Hollywood, they would fire someone from Disney, then they'd get back through the back door, and then they're doing it again. And
do you know, it's so mad you said that, because I noticed the other day there was a guy who was the head of Broadway, in the theatre. Yeah. He was found making child exploitation videos. He got arrested on that day, paid $100,000 fine, got out on that day.
And that's what needs to change. That money or power can't,
But people have a price.
Yeah.
I know, babe, and that's it. Like, there is no amount of price for what me and other victims have been through, and it's not fair anymore that people are just dismissing this. It's really not. Like, and I'm just glad they did it to me. Because you have to understand, there's people that are slitting their wrists. There's people that are killing themselves on a regular basis. There are people on the streets right now. All the girls that I met off the streets have been abused on a scale I couldn't imagine as a child, because I had, like I said, a very loving parents. I cannot imagine what they went through. They were telling me about being raped by their dad, being given and being made to do movies and all this stuff. And I was just like, what? Like, and
it's just the mind doesn't go there. It's so hard to even understand that, isn't it?
Because
and to believe in it.
We're being told by the fucking TV that, like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like, EastEnders is a drama. Let me take you down fucking my drama lane, mate. Because if we actually fucking be honest, let's face it, child abuse is more common than anything else in this world.
Yeah.
And it's upsetting me, because I know people can't talk, and I understand that. But what people need to understand is stop dismissing it.
People need to listen, because there are people talking.
Yes.
And so, and they just need to understand, like we were saying this earlier off camera, it's the biggest business.
Oh.
And people just, and it's not just some seedy guy with a camera and he just lives in the YMCA or something. This is middle class, upper class, and
levels and layers.
And, and it's, we could go so much deeper, but that's not a conversation for today. But it's the pulse of the planet almost is right now is this sexual energy directed towards vulnerable women and children and boys and men. Actually, it's something that's not spoken about enough. And you were saying you're trying to find some survivors that are men, because it's so important because it's definitely not isolated to just women.
Really,
but how when you talk about these people that have gone through so much worse than you. If they're listening to you right now, like how did you bring your smile back? How do you believe in hope, like in all of that, which I know you do, but how did you get to that process?
I believe in something a lot bigger than me. Like I'm not religious, but I call it God anyway. Like for me, it's the God force, it's the light force, it's the eternal energy. Like I know without a shadow of a doubt, like that. Like I have met the dark forces, and I have also met the light forces, and I know that I chose this path, I chose my light, and I'm very grateful for the person that I am today, because I know through like going back now and doing all of my shadow work, these are the things I suggest people to do: shadow work, trauma therapy, release work, look into even microdosing in regards to if you have been through kind of trauma like mine, and also therapy, but also making sure that you understand from a scientific aspect of the dopamine, the oxytocin, like the chemicals that you're releasing in your body when you're going through certain things. And most of all, like sit with that trauma and hug your fucking self, because it was not your fault. I have had to do things where I've gone back in my timeline and I've had to hug little Sam where she was abusing herself when she was 13, like, you know, like, and I look back now and I realise, like, you know, when I was drinking on the streets, I was putting myself in vulnerable situations with guys and they were taking advantage of me as well. And, you know, just going back and realising even the little Sam that robbed her from the purse of the mum and dad, you know, just forgiving her, like, and I think that's the biggest thing is forgiveness. Like when you, there's an actual process in healing, and first it's acceptance. Then you go through the grieving process and, you know, you kind of realise that you've lost a part of yourself. But then comes the forgiveness, and the forgiveness is the most imperative part of it, because once you can forgive yourself, it sounds very strange, but I've actually gone back and hugged my perpetrators. Like I've hugged the girl that groomed me, I hugged Steve, and I tried to even go back in their timelines because I know they've had some shit happen, and it sounds
this
really
is a real
weird.
you're a real
Like to that level to know that they was in a place of suffering as well.
Yeah, they
and
was.
And to hug their child inside.
I tried, and even my parents, you know,
wow.
I tried to go back in their timelines because I knew that they had been through some shit and they were doing the best they could with what they could for me and my sister, you know. And it might not have been perfect, but it was they were trying so hard. And I just think doing that work, it's you can't get out of it without doing it. And I just want people to know that they are worth doing the work for. Like no matter how much long it takes them, you are worthy of taking that time for your damn self to realise that you are, as I said, a survivor. If you got through out the other end and you're living, you're not a victim, you're a survivor, and you have to honour that, and you have to drill it in your head, because otherwise we can understand why people would hurt people, because they are just hurt themselves. But as light, we have to hold that space, and you have to understand that these people, like all I know now is people are doing the best with what they've got, and that's why I'm stepping into my greatness, and I want everyone else to as well. I want people, you know, you guys are doing incredible things now and giving space and a platform for people and survivors like me. Like, you don't know what that means. Like, people like me have been dismissed for a very long time, and they still are, and my story is only not dismissed because of the context of it and the fact that it was outed. But what about people like Jeanette Archer? What about like Samantha Baldwin? Like what about like these people that, you know, Robin Remo? Why are you dismissing these people? What, because their people didn't get sentenced? Because it doesn't fit your narrative. Like, because, you know, as I said, like there's good people in these industries, but there's also some very corrupt people. And I know because I have fucking seen the most evilest people, you know. And it's like, for anyone who is out there right now and feels like they can't go on any longer, I am here to tell you that you have chosen this life because you are strong enough to live it. Like, I promise you. And I think when I get up every day and I live in my purpose now, well, now I've stepped into it and I'm like, nah, man, I've let the fear go, I've let the shame go, I've let the guilt go. I'm like, do you know what? I've got work to do. And if anything, I just want people to know that they have got a purpose.
It's like using the karma of your life and changing it into your mission, in a sense, you know.
It's the only way. I think that's the only way we can do it. And otherwise it'll break you. Yeah. You will let that consume you. And that darkness is very real. And you've got to remember, like, if you've been abused in the sexual way, like, you do have to do a lot of detoxifying, because you've took a lot of toxic sexual energy. It's
energy, isn't it? It's not just...
Yeah, it's so deep. I teach young people about this.
Isn't it?
Babe, and that's what I teach the young people. And, you know, I get them going away, like, you know, it's beautiful. We did a little a chant before, and, you know, I get them to sit there for 60 seconds, because believe it or not, you can't get kids to do anymore right now, like, but, you know, just to breathe and just to be in their own space. And it's like, it's stuff like that now, you know, we need to understand that this is systemic problems, the systemic racism, the systemic paedophilia, the systemic corruption. And there is people, unfortunately, you know, all you have to do is you can look at public domain of how many judges and police officers, and an MP can only get, if it gets 1 year and 1 month, it still gets, and it's abused a person or a child, mind you, they still get to keep their MP status 1 year and 1 month. If you have a lesser sentence than that, and if you find they look after themselves very well, they look after each other in this game, they really, really do. And if you find, I was lucky, because if we would have had a corrupt police officer, or like, you heard what happened to that girl, like she got dismissed. Yeah. Like, and it's like, if she wouldn't have persisted, how many people have been dismissed? I've heard so many stories. I did not want to go to the police, because when I did, they fucking looked at me like I was a dick. They dismissed what I said. Like, how many rape victims have been through that? Like, you know, how many
compassion with all the police officers.
Exactly, babe. And it's about time. Like, it's like, stop following orders. Like, think for your damn self now, because it's getting to a point now where kids are getting abused on a scale that I can't accept anymore. And if I do anything, if there's like over my dead body, am I not going to save at least 1 million children from going through what I went through? And that is why I'm a force to be reckoned with. And that is why this year I'm only collaborating with the Conscious Collective. I really can't sell out to the mainstream narrative anymore of just thinking that this isn't the real problem that we have, because I just can't accept that people would not understand how real and how deep and how much this is actually like the biggest problem that we have on this earth right now.
There's more slaves now,
babe, honestly,
on the planet, and you know, everyone's watching Towie or Love Island or whatever it is, and it's so distracting. Not that that's wrong, everyone's at their beauty, but it's just an example of how easily you can just be in this different reality.
Yes,
you know,
babe.
And this massive thing's going on, right? It could be your next door neighbor
amongst us, yeah.
You know,
honestly.
I know that I think it's 1 in 5 men have paedophilic tendencies, is a fact that we researched recently, and and you know, you're talking about basically. Your light just blows me away, because you've recognized that you actually have to break your family karma, in a sense, like the karmic ties that you could then pass on to your daughter or your son, you know, and it's not. And this is the hardest thing. This is where the spiritual, we always say this all the time, it's forgiving yourself and then your perpetrator or the person that abused you. And, you know, we always talk about this, and there's a quote that we say, the Buddha said this: if you've got a hot coal in your hand that you want to chuck at someone so much because you hate them, you're burning yourself first by holding it. And that's the hardest place to get to, and I recognize that that's the hardest place, but to start to forgive yourself and then everyone, and to take full responsibility for the life. Yes. And then like you took it, that next step is actually recognizing that I chose all of this.
And they chose, you got to remember, they chose as well to be
that person
in my role, in my life. So I have to honor them, to be like, do you know what, you chose the path of darkness for me to be able to see the light. And I'm like, do you know
bring
what?
Your karma to surface.
Exactly. And I'm like, do you know what? Yeah. I know you chose that path before you come in. Obviously, they were a different evolution of soul, and they had to, like, you know, they've obviously got their own karmic lessons to learn. And they're constantly living in pain, doing what they're doing. Like, you've got to understand these people, like, as much as they think they know they chose the darkness, they're shitting themselves. They are, honestly, they are. And you know why now? Because people like me ain't scared no more. Like, I am not scared. And it's like, there's people out there now that I want any survivor. Like, if you are watching this and you're a survivor and you want to share your story, like, come to us. Like, you are in a safe space, and we are going to fucking make sure that you're heard, and we believe you, and we know that it's real. And honestly, I just want every survivor to know out there, whether you're silent or whether you're you're speaking, just know that you are a value. Like, you just know to value yourself, because I think that's when we allow things like this to happen to ourselves again, because of the lack of self-worth. And that's why I'm now indoctrinating the youth sector and our young minds to make sure that I'm teaching self-worth lessons and emotional intelligence lessons and confidence training, stress management, because if they don't have these tools, I'm telling you right now, like, and I go in there and they love me because I tell them raw, and I'm like, listen, do you know what human trafficking is? And they're like, take a miss. I'm like, first of all, I'm not miss. And second of all, yes, but also this. And I'll tell them the very PG version of mine. And by the end of it, they're like, fuck. Like, you know, and these young kids, don't dismiss them. They're fucking smart as fuck, man. You can Google how to make an egg now. That's why they're not listening to Pythagoras theory no more. Like, they don't care. They're like, all right, miss, like, you're telling me about Hitler. And I'm like, yeah, but the genocide in America was well worse. So why are you trying to tell me some false narrative of a history? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, people don't know about this. The young people know when I talk to them. And the worst thing about it is, guys, when I go into the schools, I've had kids disclose themselves to me about the abuse that's happening in their homes. And this is why I'm saying, what a stranger goes into a school and a teacher that's known your kids for years and they can't disclose themselves. And I go in there talking about what I do and give them a safe space. And they straight away, they come to me.
Wow.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Stop it now. Like, as a society, we need to stop this. So that's why I just ask everyone to step into their greatness, because as you do, you will align with amazing people like yourselves. Like, you will align with your greatness and you will start to let go of all of that. And it's easy to say someone let go, but when you do, like, that's what happens. It's your forgiveness that is the biggest thing that helps you. So
is that why we said at the beginning, it just turns the poison of your life into medicine? It's been the most epic, eye-opening day for me and Chris. And thank you for being so vulnerable in front of us as well, you know, because we're trying to learn how to be more vulnerable ourselves so that we can hold space as much as possible. And I think even if just one person believes in who they are and believes that their voice will be valued and loved after this, then this whole thing was worth it completely.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys are doing. You're giving people a platform, a safe space to be able to talk about stuff like this. And I think, like, that is the movement that needs to start to go towards now. Like, you know, no disrespect to anyone who is on the Towie and the Love Island vibe, but if we don't start to create platforms like this, you know, we're already being censored. Like, you already are aware of how much I've been censored online, how much the police arrested me when I told my story and all of that stuff. And it's like, if we don't get the voices of the voiceless heard, they're going to stay voiceless, and we can't allow that. So yeah, thank you as well.
Can I have a hug?
Thank you. Yeah.